Alright, welcome back. Hello everybody once again. It is A for Awesome here. I literally took like maybe 5 minutes between the end of the Outsider review recording and the beginning of this one. Um I was on a Fortnite creative map in the background, and I was collecting XP. So I was kind of going and collecting all my stuff, and then now my PS4's off. But my plan is, after I'm done recording this and eating some lunch, I'm going. On February 21st of 2019, Saint Asonia announced that they signed with Spine Farm Records, which is a new label, and that a follow-up to their first album was in the works. Keeping in mind, it had already been 4 years since their first album, and they hadn't released anything except a cover of Phil Collins' I Don't Care Anymore. The group began recording their second studio album in 2019 with producer Brian Sperber. On July 24th, 2019, the band revealed their new single, The Hunted, featuring Sully Erna. The song serves as the lead single from their second studio album, Flawed Design. On September 20th, 2019, Saint Asonia released a new track, Beast, and announced the release date of their album. Flawed Design was officially released on October 25th of 2019. The album peaked at number 171 on the Billboard 200. On January 26th of 2020, it was announced that Art of Dying drummer Cody Watkins had joined the band as their new drummer, replacing Sal. The group played 3 shows in Canada in March of 2020, with the Standstills joining them. The band was set to open for Alter Bridge on their Walk the Sky tour in spring of 2020, as well as Breaking Benjamin on their summer 2020 tour, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, all the tours were cancelled and postponed and such. I was supposed to see a Slipknot show in June of 2020. That got cancelled. I was supposed to see a Korn show in July. That got cancelled. Was supposed to see Gojira in August. Point being, I didn't get to see any of the shows I wanted to see, and most of them got straight up cancelled. So, but anyway, on to the tracks. I apologize for the lack of variety in the visuals. By the way, wasn't a lot. Flawed Design. These are the tracks. Track 1, Blind. This is a 1 out of 10. Is it just me, or is the mixing on this album fucking terrible? Maybe it's my headphones, but I doubt it, because I got really good Sony headphones. I could barely hear any of the vocals, and they sound like gibberish, and the instruments blend together, causing a fucking metallic clanking noise. I hated it. The lyrics are decent, though. Sirens. Another legitimately fucking terrible song. It sounds like a fucking Justin Bieber song. If this album doesn't get better, I would legitimately say that Adam fell off. But obviously I know that in the future he does some pretty good stuff with this band later on, towards the tail end of COVID, and that he rejoins 3 Days Grace. Although that's debatable if he still hasn't fallen off, because, I'm not the biggest fan of Mayday. I don't think it's their best song. This August Day. I literally can't hear a word of this song over the god-awful fucking mixing. It's legitimately giving a headache, and between each song I've legitimately had to take a 10 to 15 minute break. I like the high notes in this. I didn't think Adam could do those anymore. The last time I remember hearing high notes like that was all the way in 2009 with Last to Know. But, so it is interesting to know that 10 years later he can still do them, but outside of that, I'm not a fan. The Hunted, another song with shit mixing. Can you guys, let me know if, go and listen to this album and let me know if the mixing and producing and everything sounds as muddled and fucked up as it does to me. Because it could just be something wrong with my computer, something wrong with my headphones. It could be. And if that's the case, I would love to go back and redo this review, and I would have no issue, retracting my statements if I can find a better way to listen to it. But right now, as far as I know, this album sounds like shit. So, let me know if it sounds like shit to you, because, yeah. I haven't really heard anybody talk about this album. That's the funniest thing. This album released with, no fanfare. I don't remember seeing any album reviewers talking about it, really, outside of, Metacritic or whatever. None of my friends listened to it. My brother didn't even listen to it, and he's the one who got me into Saint Asonia. He was like, yeah, it's not really worth checking out. There's, one good song. So, this album, from what I hear, I've just heard negative things. Ghost. This album legitimately upsets me because it's all so rushed, and while it's well written and well produced, it feels like more it was made as this entire album was made as a they got a new label and they needed to put something out, compared to actually wanting to create something. Though that might have to do with Adam probably writing some of these when he was relapsing back in 2018. So This song feels like, oh, this is Beast. This song feels like a sequel to Animal I Have Become, or kind of a follow-up slash reimagining of some of the songs on Adam's solo album. I'm talking about Adam's second trip to rehab and the dark place he was in from, he was in a dark place after the first 3 Days Grace album, he was in a dark place after Transit of Venus, and he was in a dark place after the first Saint Asonia album, so, like, it's rough. He's had a rough time. And it hits really well, and this is my favorite from this album, though that isn't really a high bar to clear. The Fallen. I enjoy this song. It is a song pointing out that living with depression is not something you can just escape from, There's lots of people who talk about getting over their depression, but the truth is it always comes back to bite you in the ass, and it's just something you have to live with. Adam talks about relating to people like Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington, who had both recently passed away, and while Adam was in rehab specifically, so he never got to attend their benefit concert or perform there like I'm sure he would have loved to do. I think he's actually made comments about how much he wanted to be there, but obviously couldn't as he was in rehab and didn't know about the passing of either of those people. Another Fight. This song is by far the worst mix on the album. People even pointed it out in the comments of the song, so I know that it isn't just me, which is why I'm asking you, because there are some songs in this album where people are praising it, and then there's some songs where, like, this sounds like shit and is mixed badly. So I want to know if it's just me, because I'm not sure anymore. It wins points due to the lyrics about, overcoming mental health issues and how it's a constant fight. You never really get away from your mental health, and you just have to keep fighting a battle that feels pointless for the rest of your life, and really having to weigh if it's worth it or not. We got the title track, Flawed Design. I really enjoyed this song, and it really fits this band as all of the members of, famous bands coming together as essentially a supergroup. Justified. This song seemed to also be directed at 3 Days Grace, which makes sense because this was around those videos leaked from his concerts of him, shit-talking Matt Walst and such, which sucks because if you go back in time to, like, the Life Starts Now tour and such, when they were on tour with My Darkest Days, Adam's always praising Matt, talking about how he's known him since he was, 13, and all that kind of stuff. So it really sucks that Adam became the really bitter, jealous one, and everyone else kind of moved on. And even he's acknowledged in, the years since that he did not exit the band in a correct fashion, and that he was the one who acted jealous and bitter when they replaced him, as if that wasn't what they were supposed to do, Like, their singer just abandoned them. So, unfortunately, it's kind of been decided for sure that Adam was the bad guy in that situation, which isn't a great look for him. Martyrs. A great album closer. Too bad the album was mediocre. Kind of shit, actually. I don't really think it was mediocre. I think it was kind of ass. After finishing Flawed Design and the tour being cancelled due to COVID-19, Adam created a new YouTube channel, because he had an old one previously, to post acoustic covers of various songs. I was wrong when I wrote this script. It wasn't a YouTube channel. He was posting these things on, like, Instagram and such. The YouTube channel I was looking at was a fan channel, so that's my bad. But anyway, he posted a bunch of acoustic covers of various songs, both from stuff he wrote and artists he admired, like Nirvana and Linkin Park and System of a Down, and lots of new and old artists. So I don't have a lot to say about these covers. I'm going to give my rankings of them and maybe a brief little opinion, but there's not a lot to say because a lot of them are songs we've already heard before, just on acoustic or covers or whatever. So we got Waste My Time acoustic. I think it's a 10 out of 10. I think it sounded really good. We got Fairy Tale. I think the vocals were good. I don't really think it works with the acoustic guitar, though. We got Heart-Shaped Box, obviously a Nirvana cover. I think it was really done well. I think Adam's voice actually, he didn't try to emulate Kurt Cobain. He tried to do his own thing, and I really appreciate that, because nobody's ever going to be Kurt Cobain. King of Nothing acoustic. I think this really did not work. And even in the video, he talks about how he doesn't know if it's going to work. But I don't think it works very well. And King of Nothing was one of my favorites from their self-titled album, so it really, hearing that acoustically and it not working really sucked. We got Home acoustic. Home is one of my favorites from the first 3 Days Grace album. I was blasting that shit in late high school, but I even performed it on stage once. I'm glad there's no videos of that. But anyway, not because it was bad. I did well. It was just it's embarrassing. But anyway, I was in a band that we named after our school, but it wasn't the school band. It was It's a whole thing. But anyway, it's an old thing. We actually did release one album at one point. Like, it was just on CD locally. But anyway. Yeah, I performed it as a cover with that band. But yeah, the acoustic version of this song just doesn't work the same, unfortunately. So, it feels bad, because, like, Adam's, like, in his 40s or 50s now, and he's performing a song he wrote as a teenager about his parents, but he's in his loving house with his wife and kids, and it's a whole thing. We got Pain acoustic. Obviously, I don't know why I'm saying that. Which was a 7 out of 10. I think it could work acoustically. I don't think this version particularly did. We got Wake Up acoustic, which was a 5 out of 10. The instrumental was really good. I think Adam, I don't know if it was the sound quality of the video or something, but I just don't really think it worked perfectly. Plus, I just don't think the song has aged very well, and the fact that he's, like I said, he's too old to be singing about getting somebody drunk and pretty much, date raping them. Or, like, taking advantage of them, I guess is the better word. So, I don't know. I think that song should be retired, personally. Not because, like, cancel 3 Days Grace for... Just because it hasn't aged well. It's an over 20-year song. That it happens. I Don't Care. Not the Phil Collins I Don't Care Anymore cover. This is his collaboration with Apocalyptica on acoustic. I think it works. But I think it works better non-acoustically, and so I put it as a 6. We have the title track from 1X, obviously called 1X, acoustic. The funny thing is, I remember when I reviewed 1X, and most of my life listening to that album, this was my least favorite song on the album. I didn't really like how basic the drum pattern was, and that the instrumental kind of just... It lacked creativity, in my opinion. So I usually left the album at Gone Forever. However, upon re-listening, one of my childhood pets died recently. So upon re-listening to it, I really related to not feeling alone, and it's helped me through a lot. So hearing this acoustic version really hit deep, and I really enjoyed it. So Ariel's System of a Down cover, I think he really hits that, like, he has a unique... Adam has, like, one of the most unique voices in the entirety of rock and roll. You can fight me on that. I think it's, like, he's got the most unique voice. But I think he does his own unique cover of Ariel's, and I think it's extremely well done, and infinitely better than MGK. Fuck that guy. About a Girl, Nirvana cover. I think this is a rough one for me. It is 10 out of 10. I still really enjoyed it. I don't necessarily think it was the best choice, but I think he made do with it, and he did well, so... Numb, Linkin Park cover. This is an interesting one because I complained about Home due to Adam's age and, his, trying to recapture that, like, angsty feeling, but, like, it's on acoustic guitar and he's 40 with, a wife and kids, and, like, eventually you can't really talk like you're an angsty teenager, which is an issue that Outsider had. It was 40-year-old men with wives and kids talking about not fitting in school and shit. It didn't really work. Same reason why some of the later Simple Plan albums don't work for me either. But for some reason, this song, this cover by Adam, hits really well. And I think a lot of the reason is just because it doesn't feel like he's currently talking about that. It feels like he's reflecting on his past a bit more. With the way he sings it, you can tell he's thinking, and I don't know. I enjoyed it. Dying Slowly acoustic. I think it works really well. I don't think... If I remember correctly, the audio wasn't great on that video, but I did still really enjoy it. Last to Know, acoustic. There was a comment that I read on this video that was talking about how it felt like Adam was using this song as a way to prove that he still got it, and I kind of agree, because he hits those high notes, like, and it's live, right? It's not a studio acoustic. It's him sitting there on camera, just playing guitar, and he hits those high notes better than he ever did, and I mean, yeah, he still definitely got it. I was really getting into it there. I think he did a fantastic job. Just Pretend. This one was shocking. It's a Bad Omens cover. And this was right around when Bad Omens was getting big. So, like, yeah. Obviously, The Death of Peace of Mind is, like, one of my favorite albums of all time at this point. But I think at the time, I'd only heard 1 or 2 songs. So this was an interesting thing. I think he does really well. I think... Specifically, the first half is okay. It's Adam, so it's great, but it's not, it's whatever. So it's the same old. But then you get to, like, the last half, specifically like the bridge and such, and he just kills it, and he's sitting there and he's screaming his lungs out, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It was amazing. We got Never Too Late acoustic. I don't know why I specified that. I already said these were acoustic covers. I don't know why I put that in the script. I mean, it's just as good as it always is, right? It's a song that was written for acoustic guitar and then played on electric and in certain scenes, and or certain moments like the chorus. And I don't think you can get a bad version of that. I Hate Everything About You. It's funny because like he's married and he's got kids, and like I said, it hasn't aged the best for him to be sitting in his living room singing that. However, obviously, it's a song from 20 years ago, and it's a song that still hits. So there you go. I think it's really good. Give Me a Reason acoustic. This was my favorite song from Transit of Venus. That's not saying a whole lot because I wasn't the biggest fan of that album. But this song was the standout for me. I was listening to it like on repeat. When I first heard it, went through it, I went back and looped it about 5 times before I continued the album because like it was a masterpiece. That is the song that felt like Adam put effort into. Like the rest of the album, you could kind of tell he was slogging along trying to like kind of get through it. But because like of like the contractual obligations and such. But this song I felt like came from his heart, and that's good. As long as there's one song like that, the whole album isn't shit. And this acoustic is just as well done. Unbreakable Heart. This was a 1 out of 10. This was shit. The audio was shit. His voice kind of seemed to have given out like midway through. And I don't know. I couldn't do it. It just did not work. His guitar sounded out of tune. Like it sounded so bad that I legitimately started questioning if like this was an edit. Like if someone just muted him and then like, I don't know. It was bad. I wasn't a fan. And then Just Like You acoustic, which is the same as it ever was, like just as good as usual. Now, a fun fact about these acoustic videos, obviously I've stated this in my human review, and I think I stated it once or twice in my outsider review, but this is my second draft of these scripts. What I did was back in 2023, I know, a long time ago, I did all these reviews like back to back to back. Like I basically sat there and listened to all the 3 Days Grace albums, all the My Darkest Days albums, and all of the Saint Asonia albums, and gave my honest reviews. And some of them changed quite a bit. Like my human review went from, mid to negative, kind of in that area, to overwhelmingly positive. My Flawed design review has kind of been the same. But the funniest thing was, it was over the course of about a week that I did all this. And when I was watching these acoustic videos for the first time, I was actually at a party with a bunch of people, and I just wasn't feeling the vibe, so I went and kind of sat in a corner, and I was drinking and being a fucking idiot, and I kind of just sat in the corner with my headphones and my phone, and this one person was trying to like horseplay around with me and kind of like wrestle, and I ended up hitting them in the face, like hitting them in the head, not like aggressively, like I was just kind of wrestling with them, right? Because like, okay. But I ended up hitting him in the head, and he dropped. Like, he dropped, and he ended up having a concussion and needing the and keeping in mind, I didn't swing hard. It was the tap. It was like, play wrestling. But this dude went. I think I just accidentally hit him right in the right part of the brain to put him down. And so, we had to call an ambulance for him because he wasn't responsive. We were like, oh, fuck. Like, is he okay? So the ambulance comes, and obviously when we explained it, they were like, oh, yeah, he's got a concussion. Give him, we'll bring him to the hospital and take care of him. It's all good. But a police officer came because they heard, someone's been hit in the head, and that there was, whatever. But they came. So I ended up in cuffs that night. I didn't get in trouble because, my buddy then was like, no, it was an accident. Like, I don't want him in shit. It was your horse playing around. It got a little rough, But it was definitely an interesting experience. Definitely a little bit, But, yeah. Kind of hopping over to 3 Days Grace now, in the middle of this review. On July 23rd, 2020, and I was there for this. This was the first 3 Days Grace release that I was, there for. I'd been there for a couple other ones, like Human and Outsider specifically, but I wasn't there to listen when it released. They were out when I became a fan of the band already. So I was alive when they came out. I've been alive. I was born before 1X came out, so I've been around for the majority of this band. The only album they'd had out before I was born was the self-titled, The fact of the matter is, though, that I only knew Adam's songs. I only really knew the first 3 albums, right? Like 3 Days Grace, 1X, and Life Starts Now. But everything else that had come out after. It wasn't until after Outsider came out that I realized that they had a new singer. But anyway, after meeting Matt and such, I remember they had a phone number, or I got a phone number. But anyway, called it, got their voicemail, this played, so I knew what it was. But anyway, yeah, they released a cover of Somebody That I Used to Know. And I think it's really well done. I think they maybe should have got a guest singer to do the second verse, just like in the original song. But I still think it's done really well. I wonder what this song would have been like had it been done when Adam joined. If they would have had Adam doing most of it and Matt doing like the chick vocals. I think that'd be funny. On November 18th, 2021, so this is quite a bit later, Saint Asonia released a cover of Blinding What Lights by The Weeknd. I really enjoy it, actually. I really enjoyed I remember not being sure if it was the same thing, and then I put it on and I heard the lyrics. I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I think it is. So I was kind of like, that's kind of cringe, because, like, I'm not a big fan of that, but, like, I still enjoyed it for what it was. Once it hit the chorus and the drums came in, I was like, alright, yeah, this is pretty good. But yeah. That's kind of where the only reason I'm not including the Blinding Lights cover in the Introvert Extrovert album review is because that it released like 2 whole years before any of the other songs. So I was like, I'm putting it here because there was a whole other release cycle for 3 Days Grace and such between Blinding Lights cover and the Introvert Extrovert album, or EPs or whatever. So next review is going to be the Explosions album by 3 Days Grace, but I don't know. I have to, go back through and rewrite the script. I'd only done this one in Outsider in the last couple days. But I hope that you enjoyed. Once again, apologies for the kind of lack of footage here. But, yeah. Hopefully I'll see you in the 3 Days Grace Explosion review. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.